speaker has had quite of her own journey, both in the developing of this story, but with her own story serving as a metaphor for her life. Nadine Flowers is currently completing her master's program in clinical counseling at Prescott College with a focus on nature-based and adventure therapy. She fell in love with the nature as a young girl playing in the river here in Oregon at the North Fork. Her aspiration is to blend her passion for personal growth with the power of nature to support young women and girls in their own journey of empowerment and healing, while staying with a deep connection to themselves and their vitality and others. Come on up, Nadine Flowers.
So there I was, in a raft with a few other people in the Contas River in Brazil. We'd just come out of a small rapid. I was new to river rafting. And we come through and there's these two large, 25, I like to say 30-foot granite cliffs, rocks. And the guide pointed to one and he said, "Anybody who wants to jump off of this rock up here, you can do it. It's deep enough." Before I knew what was happening, my body lurched out of that boat. I scrambled up the beach, grabbed the rope, rappelled to the top, never had rappelled in my life, got to the top and stood there in the back as the person who was guiding people said, "Hold on," with my heart racing. When it was my turn, got to the ledge, I took a deep breath and I jumped. Flying down into the air. Has anybody ever done that before? Yeah! I hit the water, went down, came up, and burst into tears. I swam over to the boat and sobbed. That trip was 10 years ago, and the ripples from that trip are still happening. I had gone to Brazil for a 2-week eco-yoga thing. Right? It was like, that's what it was to me back then. It was like, somebody was like, "Hey, come on, let's go." Great. At first I was resistant, and it's important to underscore that because I didn't have a need for adventure. I didn't think anything was missing in my life. Luckily and gratefully, I had a community. I had family. I had access to income and work. So I didn't really see the need, and I wasn't really particularly drawn to Brazil or any of that. But this person was just nagging me, so I just finally caved because I didn't have all the things to keep me to say no, really. So when I got there, so after that trip and after that jump, I don't remember much for the rest of the day. It's kind of a blank. But what I can tell you is as I went through that trip and the rest of the adventures that we were to have, something had shifted in me. And I didn't know what it was. As the trip started to near the end, I realized that I didn't want to go back home. Now that was a surprise to me because, like I said, everything was cool. And by the beach, I can go down the list. There was no reason, so I didn't understand. So I took another jump, and I decided to stay for 3 months in a foreign country where I didn't speak the language by myself. Needless to say, this alarmed some of my friends and family. My dad was freaked out. My sister thought she was never going to see me again, and so the story goes. Thank God nothing happened. I'm here. I did have some interesting experiences. But what I realized during that trip was that I didn't need to run away from my life, but what I had to figure out was, what is the next iteration? I needed to start recreating my life. That's not an easy task. I came back, I started working on it. First thing I did, I will never work for corporate again. So I also quit my job. was I realized that my dynamics with my family, though I loved them so much, was super dysfunctional. And boom, a program fell from the sky, and I learned a whole new way of relating to my family. I got a whole new tool set. I started shifting. They said, hey, you guys know what triangulation is? Let me tell you. Some talks. So that happened. I started doing things I loved. Now, I'm sure everybody's got perfect relationships with your families. You're all doing things you love, and you're feeling vital and alive every day. The point of my story is that I had to take those risks to get to the next place. I didn't know it at the time. It wasn't like I had this big plan, like, this is my reconstruction plan of my life. It would look like I lurched out of a boat and jumped off a cliff, literally. Literally. And now I'm still jumping off cliffs, which, P.S., conference, and I want to thank you. You guys are amazing, lifelong learners and leaders. And as a collection, I am your fruit. I'm the servant who came back and said, thank you so much. I really wanted to say thank you for all the work that you do experientially, educationally, guiding. I know that it comes from love, because the woman who took us to Brazil, it was because she loved Brazil. And the man who took us on that river, it's because he loved that river. And maybe it was just their love that had me do that. I don't know. It wasn't a thought in my mind. So as I start climbing more and more cliffs, my encouragement to you is to just think for a moment where you're at in your life, professionally, personally. I also changed my health. I changed everything. But it wasn't thought out. It came from someplace else. So my encouragement is to just ask you to just quietly search within yourself. I know we've been getting a lot of other kinds of opportunities. To just ask yourself, is there something that you want to do or change or transform? You might not have anything right now, but that's okay. Sometimes the call is to go out. Sometimes the call is to go in. Sometimes the call is to go up. And sometimes the call is to maybe go down and just rest. I know everybody here works really, really, really hard. So that's really my share today. I wanted to thank you. I wanted to formally acknowledge you as a group and as individuals, the power that you have in people's lives, and to do that through this talk, because I know that not everybody gets to see the fruit. And so really that's my encouragement, is to keep looking for those opportunities to say yes, even when you don't want to, or even when you're afraid, and to keep jumping off the cliffs, because you never know what's going to happen.